The mysterious, the esoteric, the unknown. The world of mysticism draws us all in, and as we see in the Golem, the power of magic is often used to animate a great story. In his creation from mud, we see connections to the Genesis story through Frankenstein's monster.
But what draws us to those mysteries beyond our comprehension? The music for this installment was created by New Zealand legend Michael Morley. Michael is probably best known as the singer and instrumentalist of the experimental rock band The Dead Sea and the primal experimental band Wreck Small Speakers on Expensive Stereos. He has been a Golem fan for years and adds an exciting aural soundscape to this part of the story.
Wow. I mean, every week I think I'm just going to get more excited from the work that Wegner's doing.
You know, when I see these ideas coming across on camera, I'm constantly blown away at how relevant this story and these themes still are today to where we're at.
Yeah, that's why I cannot wait to talk to our guest today. Mitch Horowitz is one of today's most literate voices in mysticism and the occult. A historian of alternative spirituality, his work sits at the intersection of academia, journalism, and the esoteric. Mitch is a writer in residence at the New York Public Library and the award-winning author of books including Occult America, One Simple Idea, How Positive Thinking Reshaped Modern Life, and The Miracle Habits. We sat down with Mitch to explore the many stories around the archetype of the Golem. Mitch, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. I'm very excited to kind of pick your brain.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I have to ask, you're the man of the esoteric, the mysterious. How did you first come across the Golem?
Wow, I probably started hearing about the Golem legend when I was a little kid. Growing up in Queens, here in New York City, where I'm speaking from, I was fascinated with folklore of every kind. I grew up in a fairly traditional Jewish household, and I must have known about the Golem myth as soon as I was old enough to talk.
Mitch, the Golem is, of course, a product of Jewish folklore and a story that's come down in a variety of different forms. In essence, the Golem, legend begins with Rabbi Lowe, this rabbi who looks to the stars and looks to the mystery in the stars and sees misfortune coming for his people. And that's sort of what motivates this creature that he creates. I wonder if you could talk a bit about this idea of looking to the stars to see what may be coming. Is a concept of the esoteric and maybe even some of the history behind that.
The fact is, the ancient religions were connected to subjects that we today would regard as occult or esoteric, but were very much a part of the walk of faith and belief in religious movements around the world, dated back to antiquity, including things that we today would refer to as astrology, divination, alchemy. In some ways, the Golem tale is a tale of alchemy. The idea that the individual is connected to the cosmos, and we can look to the cosmos, whether it be the stars or whether it be other facets of the natural world, and see ourselves reflected in these things. There was a period of time in which Judaism, up through late antiquity and to some extent even into the early medieval period, was involved with practices that we today would refer to as astrology. The term astrology wasn't necessarily used as such at that time, but the idea that the individual is connected to the cosmos has been a motivating religious idea throughout most of human history across most faiths.
Do you think there's a connection between that connection to the stars, to space, and then the juxtaposition of this creature made of clay?
Well, there's a formula that goes back to the philosophy called Hermeticism, which was basically an amalgam of ancient Greek and ancient Egyptian philosophy that was formulated in late antiquity, in the decades immediately following the death of Christ. And that famous formula goes, as above, so below. And you really find some variant of that within every religion. Within Hebrew scripture, you find a variant that says God created the individual in its own image. I mean, really, that's just a way of restating as above, so below. So the idea of connectedness was, at least at one time, a very, very central idea within almost all of the ancient faiths. The idea that if the individual was created in the image of the Creator, however one conceives of that, it stands to reason that the individual is also capable of creating life within his or her own sphere. And you see that very much within the Golem story. But one of the moral conundrums of the Golem story is the question of what is life? Just because you can make something formless into something animate? Does that mean it's a sensible being? Does that mean it's a thinking being? Does that mean it's a feeling being? And the answers to that are very ambiguous. If the answers are yes, then one has no right to destroy it. If the answers are no, then it starts to become a tale of humanity's limitations and hubris. So, the notion of to what degree can we understand ourselves as creators has animated existential and religious thought for many, many centuries. And it's a tormenting question, as the psalmist says, ye are as gods, but ye shall die as princes. So there's this constant tension in human life that we feel ourselves possessed of the abilities to create, the abilities to be like the gods, or the abilities to be like the creator. But we also function within a realm of grave limitations. And that's reinforced in part by the events of the Golem myth in its various forms.
Mitch, in the film, we see there's this secret word that is used to animate the golem. I get the sense that's not just something they made up for this film. Is there a history of secret words used to cause magic to happen or to cause creatures to animate?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of the great secret words in Judaism, I have it tattooed here. It's some might regard this as sacrilegious. I certainly don't mean it as such. Yod He Vav He, the unpronounceable name of God. And according to legend, if the individual could figure out how to pronounce it, he or she would become all-powerful. That's the ur-text of secret words, at least as far as the Judeo-Christian tradition is concerned. Now, in many variants of the Golem myth, Rabbi Lowe or another figure who's animating the golem is said to place the Hebrew word emet into the creature's mouth or onto the creature's chest. And one of the ways in which the creature is returned to dust is that one of the letters is removed from the word, and emet is transformed into met, or death, and then the creature returns to dust. There are many different variations of this, and sometimes there are different words, sometimes the word itself is torn up, but it's this idea that language itself is a creative force. And it's interesting, if you look at human development, we learn to speak before we learn to write, and in scripture we're told first there was the word. This idea that the word has creative power, again, is a concept that's run through most religions. And the notion that words can create, that sound creates, reminds us of an important facet of human development, not only in terms of the individual, but in terms of where our myths and stories come from, including the story of the golem itself, which is that these things start out as oral tradition. And it's interesting, we love to reference authors from the ancient world as if we can get our arms around who these people were, Homer or Lao Tzu, the great Chinese sage, or Socrates, or what have you. We have very, very limited evidence that these individuals, in fact, existed, and in antiquity, it was not common for an author, the term author wasn't even really used, it was not common for a scribe to display an individual personality. Very often a scribe was speaking on behalf of a school or a government or a certain philosophy. They either did not affix a byline to what they wrote, or if they did affix a byline to it, it might have been the name of a king or a god or the name of a school or the name of a mythical figure in order to lend gravity to what they were doing. So it really wasn't until modernity that authors took on individual personalities. It used to be that all of our stories, all of our ideas, all of our sciences emerged from spoken word, emerged from schools, emerged from oral tradition, and only later got written down. So the word, in the most literal sense, is a primeval source of power.
You've given me a lot to think about and to examine in terms of my relation to story and the story I've told myself. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Time to
Pleasure.
speak with us today.
Pleasure. I really enjoyed it, you guys. Thank you.
Join us next time. We'll be taking a look at the Golem of the future and how the ideas director Paul Wegener explored are relevant to artificial intelligence, humanoids, and the metaverse.